Virginia Tech had a nasty win over Duke, and by nasty, I don't mean it was ugly for Virginia Tech, just that it was in some pretty bad weather.
Yeah, that tropical storm that hit Miami, it seemed to almost jump up into, into Virginia and North Carolina and really affect that game. It was pretty gross to watch at points.
It was, but luckily they shouldn't experience that this week. Heading down to Florida, it's going to be beautiful weather.
Oh yeah, it's supposed to be mid-80s, which is going to be pretty warm for them. Virginia Tech, one of the reasons they were able to pull out a win fairly easily in that just gross weather game is their defense. They didn't allow Duke to get anything started at any point in the game. They have one of the best defenses that we've really seen all season, especially for any of the ACC teams. They rank right up there with the Clemson's, NC States of the world. They currently rank 13th against the run and 14th against the pass. They ranked 9th overall in defense. There's not much more you really have to say about them. They're an extremely well-rounded group of players, and they've been extremely successful against every form of opponent that they've come up and played so far this year. Justin Fonte has really kept these Hokies extremely sound in all areas of the game. They don't have very many fumbles. They don't throw very many interceptions. They've only turned the ball over 6 times this year, which is 5th in college football. So they're extremely good at being smart with the ball. They force turnovers on defense. They don't miss a lot of tackles. They're very sound. But even though they're not necessarily the most explosive team in college football, they do still score and have an amazing just scoring ratio. Their defense has held their opponents to only 11 touchdowns on the season. Only 3 other teams in all of college football can say that they've done that. They only give up 11.5 points a game. They still score 35 points, which is, really impressive. A lot of the teams that have that amazing defense don't necessarily have that high-powered offense, and vice versa.
Miami holds the longest active win streak in college football at the moment with 12 wins, and they look to remain undefeated for the season as they take on Virginia Tech this weekend. But if the Hokies don't snap that streak, then I'm sure Notre Dame will next week. But one of the key strengths here is turnover. Life is all about timing, and that is so true, especially for a defense that ranks 52nd in the nation that allows 377 total yards. But the 20 turnovers they've had have come at very critical times, like last week when they recovered a fumble in the final 3 minutes to squash the Tar Heels' hopes at a potential upset. Offense. They've outgained most of their opponents, but the 2 that gave them the most trouble was Florida State and North Carolina. They barely squeaked by both. Now that may work against unranked opponents, but that kind of play is not welcomed in the top 25. And the offensive play has been pretty sloppy. Malik Rozier threw for 42% last week and only hits his targets about 57% of the time. But one thing they do have is a great red zone offense. They're dangerous as they score 93% of the time.
Yeah, that red zone offense is really impressive. It's just whether or not they can get into the red zone that's really been the issue for this Miami offense so far this year. And they do have an amazing defensive line. They have one of the best pass rushes in all of college football. But for whatever reason, their D-line and their linebackers have been unable to get on the same page at all this season, and they can't stop the run. They're ranked 82nd in the so far in stopping the run, and it's been a reoccurring theme for them all season. They haven't been able to stop anyone on the ground. If they don't lose this week, I can't see a way that they get past that amazing rushing offense of Notre Dame next week. And they don't have a very good secondary either. If they can't get to the quarterback and they don't put pressure on the quarterback, their secondary's given up quite a few explosive plays. That's hurt them quite a bit in the past. They've been able to really grind out those ugly wins, and as my old coach used to say, a win is a win is a win. It doesn't matter as long as you win. But, those ugly wins, they take a toll on you, especially mentally. You kind of get that invincible feeling, which isn't always the best. Holding a lead is going to be harder for this Miami team to do because they haven't had any experience holding a lead, as weird as that may sound. And their schedule, they're 35th in strength of schedule so far this year. They haven't played any opponents. As you talked about earlier, 2 games that they really struggled in, North Carolina and Florida State, have a combined 3 wins on the year. That's not something to be proud of if you're Miami. Their schedule is pretty pitiful.
if I'm Virginia Tech, I'm sitting here wondering how Miami is ranked ahead of me. They barely won against UNC, which Virginia Tech destroyed. The offense has been enough for Miami, but it's been so inconsistent, and they give up almost 400 yards on defense. You can bet Virginia Tech is going to be ready to come to Florida, enjoy a change from the cold and wet rain, and shut down the hype that currently surrounds this Miami team. Plus, Virginia Tech, the only really weakness they have is that they lost to Clemson, which was expected. That game came down to turnovers, and the Virginia Tech offense gave up 3, while the defense was unsuccessful in creating any turnovers.
It'll be a really interesting matchup to see who's going to win. I mean, at least towards the top of the ACC, this has a lot of bowl implications. Whether it's college football playoff or not is still yet to be seen. My player to watch for Miami is Travis Homer. He's their running back. He might not be, he might not jump off the page at you when you look at his stats. He only has 517 yards on the season, 5 touchdowns. But when you consider the fact that he's played 2 less games than most other people because of those hurricanes that Miami had, literal hurricanes that Miami had early in the season, which caused them to miss out on a couple of their games, he's doing pretty well. He ranks 25th in yards per carry at 6.4 yards.
My key player for Virginia Tech is Josh Jackson. The true freshman quarterback loves to spread the wealth on offense. He doesn't rely on just one player. He utilizes every possible option and reads the defense well. He's also quick on his feet. He's gathered 2,032 passing yards at 62% for 17 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions. That's certainly not bad compared to others. And he's close to 200 rushing yards. He does it all.
Yeah, he's an extremely well-rounded quarterback, especially for a freshman. He's a guy that I'm sure a lot of coaches are really, kicking themselves for not recruiting a little higher when they were looking at him.
I think this game is in the bag for Virginia Tech. Miami is just waiting to lose that win streak that they have. They haven't played anyone, as we've said, and I just don't think they're going to be able to go, their defense is going to be able to hold against the offense Virginia Tech is going to bring. And I think Virginia Tech's defense, which is surprisingly good this year, is going to shut down the Miami offense.
Yeah, and I think Virginia Tech, I think their players are going to be pretty excited. It's been snowing in Virginia. I think they're going to be excited to come down to the lovely, upper 70s, low 80s of Miami. It's going to be an exciting game for the fans and the players of Virginia getting to travel down. I think they're going to come out ready. I think they're going to travel well, and I think they're going to pull off the upset.
Well, if you enjoyed this game preview, we have 4 other top 25 matchups for Week 10. They're along the right side of your screen. Be sure to check them out. I'm Janae Muchmore.
And I'm Griffin Parkrose.
Thanks for watching RedZone to EndZone, and have a great weekend.